Dr. Sam. I have this machine here. It's called a time machine. So without further ado, I will turn on the machine for you. King the Craig. Wah! It's stopping at 1793. We're gonna be people from 1793. Are you ready? Go psych. Come in peace, and I think you do too. So come out. Thank you.
Why? Even with all my inventions and world travels, this is one trip I would have never imagined. I am Benjamin Franklin, born like my other friends here in the 1700s. I was quite a famous writer and scientist in my day. In fact, I see a few, shall we say, more mature persons here are displaying one of my many inventions, the bifocal lens. However, my greatest contribution to America was over 40 years of service to my fellow countrymen. We have traveled forward in time to share with you some experiences that we have had over 200 years ago.
And I am Peter Salem, a black patriot from Massachusetts. I was a war hero in the Great Battle of Bunker Hill. I was also a soldier in Minutemen in George Washington's army in the battles of Saratoga and Stony Point. I, like many black patriots, fought alongside our white comrades. There is a monument honoring my life and deeds in the state of Massachusetts.
And I am Abigail Adams, the wife of John Adams, who is a signer of our Declaration of Independence, ambassador to France and England, and the second president to our country. Although my husband was frequently away, leaving only me to take care of our farm and small children, I was utterly devoted to him and for the cause of freedom for which he worked.
And I am Dolly Madison, the wife of James Madison, who is called the father of our Constitution. He was also the fourth president. While James was president, the British again invaded our land in the War of 1812. But before they burnt to the ground most of the great buildings in our city, including the Capitol, the Treasury, and our home, I risked my life to save the famous portrait of our beloved first president, George Washington.
To understand early America, you should know that the settlers did not come here for gold or riches. They came here for religious rights.
That's right. At times we were allowed many freedoms, but when King George became ruler, he kept taking away our rights.
Yes, it was horrific. They even made us keep the king's soldiers in our homes. They would take anything they liked, even defiling our young women, all in the name of the king.
Now, many colonists wanted to abolish slavery.
I, for one.
But King George wouldn't have such a thing. King George was more interested in getting more power and money and imposing more taxes on people.
So after 10 years of terrible abuses with no help from Britain, our good friend Thomas Jefferson was asked to write the Declaration of Independence.
Ben and my husband John Adams were two of the 56 signers.
Let me tell you, it was a solemn occasion when we signed that document, for we certainly knew that we would be charged as traitors by Britain.
If we were caught, we would have been hung, disemboweled, cut into quarters, burned in oil, and our ashes thrown across the countryside.
No, we did not treat this call for independence lightly at all. When we signed that document, we solemnly pledged our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Many did lose our lives.
We all lost our fortunes,
but none of us lost our sacred honor.
I was part of George Washington's army in the northern colonies. We were going up against the most powerful army and navy in the world, and most of us were just merchants and farmers.
Our soldiers had no training, and they had never fought in a war. But they had a just cause, and that was freedom for all men.
And women! There were still so many problems after we had won the war. Under the Articles of Confederation, Congress had no power to tax, so we couldn't even pay our soldiers. And every issue that was drawn up had to be passed by all 13 states. And some states were always saying no. There were many disputes. Some even threatened to leave the Union.
We were in depression and at the same time suffering from high inflation. So when someone would say it isn't worth a continental dollar, that's because our dollar was only worth 2 cents.
Not only that, 5 years after the war, the British troops were still there.
George Washington wrote that if anyone would have told him things could get so bad, he would have thought they were crazy.
The miraculous thing is what happened toward this United States after the Constitutional Convention.
Some of the states were treating each other as foreign enemies, but in time we had over 50 delegates from every state except for one.
Rogue Island.
George Washington was suffering so severely from gout that he would have to have his arms tied to his chest to prevent the movement of the carriage from causing such excruciating pain.
I was 81 years old, and my arthritis was giving me such fits that I had to be carried into the convention each day.
James and many other delegates had lost all their money in the war. They weren't paid to serve their country, so they had to borrow money just to attend a convention.
That also meant that for 4 months, their wives and children had to take care of everything back at home without any help from their husbands.
Even though it was during one of the hottest summers ever recorded, you would have thought it was Texas. All of our discussions were kept secret, so not a window could be opened. And we had no air conditioning. By the end of the day, Philadelphia Hall smelled just like one of your football locker rooms.
Now that's really bad.
My husband, who recorded every detail of the convention, said that sometimes the men argued bitterly. It took over 60 bouts just to decide how to choose a president.
One time, the arguing got so bad that I suggested we hire a minister to pray for us. We didn't have the money to do that, of course, but the men did start trying harder. At long last, we were able to sign the Constitution. I was so happy that I wept.
George Washington's chair at the convention had a picture of his son engraved on its back. Oftentimes, during the debates, the men would wonder if it was symbolic of a rising sun or of a setting sun. Alas, they realized it was of a rising sun.
But 3 of the 54 men would not sign the Constitution because it did not have a Bill of Rights. The other men didn't think it was necessary because each state already had their own Bill of Rights. But as we look back, we agreed that we needed a Bill of Rights.
The amazing thing is what happened to the United States after the Constitution. You just wouldn't believe it. It was a miracle how in just 3 years we were able to pay our debts, people quit quarreling, states started working together, and we were becoming prosperous.
George Washington said that if anyone could have told him America could turn things around so quickly, he would have thought them a fit subject for the insane asylum.
To understand how the Constitution is able to do this, you need to know where the founders got their great ideas. Even though they all had very different backgrounds, they all studied from the same classics, like Montesquieu, Blackstone, Cicero, John Locke.
And don't forget the Bible.
And we all had the same goal, and freedom for all mankind.
Now, the ideas in the classics had never been tried before, but the founders knew that it would bless America and people all around the world.
And have they ever? Because of America's example, over time, other nations started allowing their people to be free. Although there are many challenges, we became the first free nation in modern times.
And also, if you look around and see what it has made today, we've got cars, missiles, iPads, we've even sent man to the moon. And we've created my favorite game, Angry Birds.
Peter, it's not time to play. They put over 300 rights in the Constitution which are as important in your day as they were in ours. These ideas are based on principles, just like the principle of gravity that remains true no matter what time or age.
There's not time to talk about them now, but the bookmark you were given tells you about some of them, and you should look the rest up.
This reminds us of the preamble of the Constitution. He says you haven't been taught to know that. Certainly that can't be true, can it?
We the people
Of the United States.
of the United States,
In order to form
in order to form
A more perfect union.
a more perfect union,
To establish justice,
establish justice,
Ensure domestic tranquility.
ensure domestic tranquility,
provide for the common defense,
provide for the common defense,
Promote the general welfare.
promote the general welfare,
to secure the blessings of liberty,
To
to secure the blessings of liberty,
to ourselves and our posterity.
to
ourselves and our posterity,
to ordain and establish
to ordain and establish
This Constitution.
this Constitution
for the United States of America.
for the United States of America.
We're now well on your way to understanding our freedoms. But remember what I told you over 235 years ago. A nation of well-informed men
and women
who have been taught to know and prize the rights which God has given them cannot be enslaved. It is in the realm of ignorance that tyranny begins.
Now it is up to you to preserve our Constitution. Study these rights, for they are very, very important.
I want you! Yes, I'm looking at you, and it is your duty to learn more about America. Yes, I'm looking at you.